Inside each of us lurks a trickster, part rebel, part genius. But what does the myth of Loki, perhaps the most infamous trickster of all, reveal about your hidden psychology? Loki, famed for his mischievous brilliance and relentless cunning, symbolizes chaos itself, forever pushing boundaries and disrupting order. Yet could suppressing this inner chaos within you be your greatest psychological mistake? Loki never accepted the gods' rules or their comfortable illusions of perfection. In one of his most notorious escapades, driven by mischief and envy, Loki stole into the chambers of Thor's wife, Sif, and cunningly cut off her beautiful golden hair as she slept. This seemingly small prank unleashed anger and panic among the gods, setting off a chain reaction of crises and creative solutions, ultimately forcing the gods themselves into action and innovation. Yet, Loki's mischief wasn't limited to mere jokes or pranks. In a darker twist of fate, he tricked the blind god Hoder into killing his beloved brother Balder, a tragedy so profound it shattered the gods' complacency, forcing them to confront the uncomfortable truth of their own mortality. In every deception, in every carefully orchestrated chaos, Loki's tricks revealed the gods' hidden vulnerabilities, exposing their weaknesses and breaking their illusions. Carl Jung saw Loki clearly not as a villain or hero, but as a representation of the human psyche's hidden disruptive force. In the trickster, we see our own shadow, the rejected parts of ourselves that are necessary for renewal. Loki isn't merely chaos personified. He symbolizes the hidden aspects of your personality that you've denied or suppressed. His rebellion stirs stagnation into motion, challenging the stale patterns in your own life. When you refuse to acknowledge your inner Loki, you deny yourself the possibility of renewal. Like the gods confronted by Loki's antics, you too must confront your hidden, chaotic impulses, because ignoring them won't erase them. It merely empowers them to act secretly, shaping your destiny in ways you never intended. Understanding Loki's myth deeply isn't about admiring chaos for chaos's sake. It's about recognizing that chaos can break the chains of stagnation, opening pathways toward authentic growth. Carl Jung described the trickster archetype as a vital force within the human psyche, an eternal rebel who challenges order, defies convention, and instinctively opposes stale and lifeless routines. Neither strictly good nor evil, this archetype embodies a necessary chaos, essential for breaking old patterns and birthing fresh perspectives. Jung himself remarked, "Without chaos there is no creation, without disruption no innovation." This trickster spirit reveals itself in you whenever you question authority, resist conformity, or challenge rules others accept without question. Perhaps you recall moments when you've laughed inwardly at rigid social norms, or felt exhilaration in stepping slightly outside conventional boundaries. These impulses aren't merely childish acts of defiance, they're signals from your unconscious, your psyche pushing back against stagnation, demanding that you engage with life authentically, creatively, and fully. At the very heart of Jung's psychology lies the concept known as the shadow, those hidden, darker elements of your personality that society has conditioned you to reject or deny. Anger, rebellion, cunning, and mischief, all traits embodied vividly by Loki, are exactly the traits most of us have been taught to suppress. Jung warned powerfully of the danger in ignoring these shadow aspects. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Loki is a perfect symbol of this shadow. His presence in myth isn't merely to cause trouble. He forces recognition of hidden truths, demanding confrontation with uncomfortable realities. He symbolizes the power of the parts of yourself you've pushed aside, the mischievous, rebellious, chaotic impulses that remain within, quietly shaping your life from behind the scenes. Embracing your inner Loki doesn't mean surrendering to reckless destruction. Instead, it means acknowledging and integrating all aspects of yourself. By consciously accepting your shadow traits, you gain freedom. By ignoring them, you unwittingly grant them control. Think for a moment. Have you secretly enjoyed breaking small rules, perhaps even found joy in subtle mischief? This isn't meaningless rebellion. It's your inner Loki prompting you toward greater authenticity. Recognizing the shadow self is crucial. Without conscious integration, your suppressed traits inevitably resurface in unexpected and destructive ways. But with awareness, these same impulses become a source of creativity, humor, and personal power. Though Loki is rooted deeply in ancient Norse mythology, the trickster archetype he represents is vividly alive today, moving unseen through modern society, culture, and everyday life. It resonates clearly through some of the most compelling characters in popular culture, characters such as Marvel's Loki, the Joker, or Captain Jack Sparrow. Each one challenges established rules, disrupts social order, and defies expectations, captivating us precisely because they embody our own suppressed, rebellious impulses. But what makes such figures so irresistibly relatable despite their destructive potential? Carl Jung provided the answer. The trickster surfaces precisely where we try hardest to maintain rigid order, pushing us toward flexibility and creativity. In other words, these modern tricksters reflect our own unconscious desire to break free from stale conformity and mindless routine. Beyond fiction, real-world innovators such as Steve Jobs or Elon Musk exhibit trickster qualities clearly. Jobs revolutionized entire industries by disregarding traditional approaches, challenging the status quo not with reckless chaos, but through purposeful disruption. Musk continually defies conventional expectations, publicly questioning accepted norms and forcing entire industries, automotive, aerospace, even social media, to rethink their assumptions. Yet, the trickster archetype isn't confined to global figures or grand gestures. It also appears quietly in everyday life. Think about colleagues who challenge senseless rules at work, sparking necessary change, or artists whose unconventional approaches lead to new forms of creativity. Perhaps even within yourself, you've occasionally felt that subtle impulse to challenge unnecessary rules or push boundaries gently, just enough to feel a sense of freedom. This subtle mischief is precisely Loki's energy in action, your psyche's way of resisting monotony and promoting renewal. Consider your own experiences. Who embodies the trickster spirit in your life? Could it even be you, breaking monotony, daring to reimagine your routines and responsibilities, finding new pathways of creativity or humor in places you never thought possible? Understanding this archetype not only deepens your self-awareness, but opens new possibilities for genuine psychological growth. Recognizing Loki's energy in your daily life invites innovation, flexibility, and, paradoxically, greater control over your destiny. It's easy to wonder, why should you willingly embrace chaos within yourself, especially when society so heavily prizes order, discipline, and predictability? Surely a successful and meaningful life is built upon clarity, routine, and structure. While this may seem intuitive, Carl Jung uncovered a far more nuanced psychological truth. Without chaos, there is no creation. Without disruption, there is no meaningful growth. This isn't an abstract philosophy. It's a principle deeply embedded in the myth of Loki and powerfully evident throughout human history. Consider the most groundbreaking innovations, remarkable scientific discoveries, or artistic masterpieces. Every revolutionary idea, From Picasso's radical reinvention of art to Galileo's defiance of scientific orthodoxy, emerged precisely when conventional wisdom was challenged. Creativity doesn't flourish when life is perfectly ordered. It emerges clearly when rules are questioned, boundaries tested, and authority defied, when your inner Loki is given just enough freedom to disrupt complacency. Jung's concept of the trickster archetype reveals that within your own psyche, this rebellious impulse is essential, not reckless rebellion, but mindful, purposeful disruption, just enough chaos to ignite fresh ideas and authentic self-expression. Reflect on your own life. When did you last experience genuine creativity or breakthrough thinking? Chances are it wasn't during a time of strict adherence to routine. Instead, it was likely during a moment of rebellion, uncertainty, or when you allowed yourself to step outside familiar boundaries. However briefly, this isn't coincidence. Your inner trickster's primary role is to keep you psychologically awake, innovative, and alive, to protect you from stagnation, conformity, and lifeless repetition. Yet the impulse toward chaos must be consciously integrated. Suppressing your inner trickster doesn't eliminate chaos, it merely drives it underground, making it dangerously volatile. Ignoring this energy leads to stagnation, dissatisfaction, and psychological breakdowns, precisely at moments when order becomes oppressive rather than reassuring. Instead, embracing Loki wisely, allowing measured creative disruptions, strengthens your capacity to innovate, adapt, and flourish in life's inevitable uncertainties. Embracing Loki consciously means transforming disruption into insight, chaos into clarity, and rebellion into purposeful renewal. However, while embracing your inner trickster has profound psychological benefits, we must also face the darker aspects honestly. There's a clear reason why Loki, despite his cunning brilliance and compelling charm, ultimately faced severe punishment. He allowed his impulses to spiral unchecked, leading to irreparable damage and devastating consequences. His eventual punishment, bound in chains beneath dripping venom, symbolically represents what Jung identified as the inevitable psychological cost of unmanaged trickster energy. Jung cautioned explicitly, "Whatever is not brought to consciousness appears in our lives as fate. If your inner trickster, your shadow, is ignored, suppressed, or left unconscious, it does not vanish. Instead, like Loki bound and left in agony, it festers beneath your conscious awareness, gathering intensity, waiting to erupt destructively. Reflect honestly on your own experiences. Have suppressed frustrations, anger, or rebellious impulses ever surfaced suddenly, sabotaging opportunities or relationships you valued? Perhaps you've experienced impulsive anger, self-destructive decisions, or overwhelming burnout, manifestations of the shadow energy you attempted to deny. The cost of ignoring your inner Loki is precisely this: chaos that emerges uncontrolled, sudden emotional outbursts, or impulsive rebellions that sabotage your life. Jung observed vividly how lives devoted purely to maintaining order inevitably produce their own destructive chaos, precisely because shadow impulses remain unacknowledged and unmanaged. By suppressing rather than consciously engaging your shadow, you inadvertently grant your inner Loki greater destructive power, allowing unconscious impulses to shape your life in unintended, damaging ways. The trickster energy, when denied, becomes a psychological time bomb, capable of erupting into anxiety, depression, resentment, or crisis. Ignoring your inner trickster, refusing to consciously acknowledge the disruptive impulses within, invites precisely the chaos you fear most deeply. To prevent this fate, Jung urges awareness and integration. Rather than allowing chaos to emerge destructively, consciously acknowledging your shadow impulses, your inner trickster, allows you to harness their creative potential constructively. Awareness transforms unconscious rebellion into conscious creativity, turning inner chaos from a liability into a powerful source of psychological freedom. So, how do you wisely embrace your inner trickster, your shadow, and consciously integrate it into your life without letting chaos rule unchecked? Carl Jung offered clear guidance on this, writing powerfully. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. This insightful truth underpins the transformative practice known as shadow work, a psychological method dedicated to acknowledging and integrating the rebellious, disruptive impulses hidden within your psyche. Shadow work isn't about indulging reckless desires or letting chaos dictate your life. Instead, it involves deliberately confronting and consciously integrating the aspects of yourself you've spent years denying or ignoring. The rebellious impulses, mischievous instincts, and unconventional thoughts that you've been conditioned to suppress. You achieve this by bringing hidden feelings into awareness, perhaps through journaling honestly about your frustrations, challenging unnecessary rules, or introducing creative disruptions into overly structured areas of your life. Rather than resisting your inner Loki, you learn to channel its energy constructively, harnessing it consciously through humor, imagination, or measured acts of purposeful defiance. History vividly demonstrates the powerful outcomes of integrating shadow impulses constructively. Leonardo da Vinci, driven by relentless curiosity, continually defied convention to produce innovations centuries ahead of his time. Galileo, by questioning the accepted truths of his day, fundamentally reshaped our understanding of the universe. These visionaries consciously embraced their trickster impulses, not through reckless disorder, but through deliberate, mindful rebellion against stagnation. Their breakthroughs weren't accidents. They were direct results of consciously integrating the shadow's disruptive energy. Carl Jung famously warned, "Whatever is not brought to consciousness appears in our lives as fate. If your shadow impulses, your inner Loki, remain hidden, they will inevitably shape your life in unintended and destructive ways. Suppressed chaos emerges uncontrolled, sabotaging relationships, opportunities, and ultimately your happiness. But by consciously acknowledging your inner Loki, you transform hidden chaos into meaningful creativity, unconscious rebellion into purposeful innovation, and disruption into genuine renewal. This then is the ultimate secret Loki teaches us, the trickster's secret. The chaos you fear within yourself is precisely the key to your psychological freedom, creativity, and authenticity. Embracing your shadow is not reckless. It's courageous and necessary. It frees you from suffocating conformity and reconnects you with your authentic potential. Loki's tale reveals the profound truth that genuine psychological growth comes not from banishing chaos, but from consciously engaging and integrating it. Now it's your turn. I invite you to reflect deeply and share your story. What's the greatest rule you've ever broken, and how did consciously embracing your inner trickster shape who you've become? If this exploration of Loki and your shadow inspired you, please like, subscribe, and share this wisdom with anyone who might benefit from welcoming a little creative chaos into their life. Together, let's continue this extraordinary journey into self-discovery.